So thanks for watching. This is Truckin' with Selena. Today we're going to attempt to show you a pre-trip on the truck. We're going to start out by looking under the hood and the main components that you need to be looking for and to make sure that they're all there, they're not broken. Now, I might miss a few things. I'm not perfect. I'm not the DOT. But we will try to cover the basics so you have a general idea of what you need to know. So first thing you got to do, pop the hood. Just this little lever here, hooks on like that, and voila. Do that on both sides, and then come around the front. And you have to undo the bar here, maybe?
Rookie.
Yeah.
Pull it to the side.
Aha. Drop the bar. Can't forget to do the other one. You look awfully funny if you don't. Here, foot down, little handle on the hood. When you first walk up to the right side of the truck, you're gonna take a brief overlook. Just make sure that you don't see anything hanging or anything or any leaks or anything right off the bat. And then you can start looking at each individual thing. So you start up here and you look at your AC lines and your exhaust for the turbo and everything. Make sure that there's no leaks. Make sure that nothing is broken, cracked, or damaged. If it's like a rubber hose, you don't want any abrasions, cuts, or bulges. You just take a look over, make sure that your coolant line, make sure that you're full, make sure the lid's on tight. You come down, you look at your alternator and your other radiator hose. You check the belt, make sure that it's not cracked or anything. Make sure all the wires are intact. And meanwhile, you want to stay in like a flow. You want to start at the top and move to the bottom. You don't want to jump around and zigzag because then you'll forget something, you'll miss something. Then you come down and you
like see, I'm sure we're gonna do.
Yeah, like I'm sure I'm gonna do. I haven't done a major thing since CDL school.
Well, having to explain yourself like this?
Yeah, having to explain myself since CDL school. So.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So then you will come down and you'll look at the frame. You want to make sure that nothing's bent or twisted on your frame always. And check your leaf springs. Make sure that all the bolts are there. That nothing looks like it's rattled loose or anything.
And what are those?
Those are U-bolts.
And what is this thing down here?
Leaf spring.
Okay.
I did say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what is this thing?
That's a shock. You want to make sure that your shocks are not leaking, and check the grommets. Make sure that they're not leaking any fluid, or they're not cracking. Getting weathered.
What are the four major terms you're going to use in a pre-trip?
Nothing is broken, cracked, damaged, or leaking.
Right.
And then anything rubber is no abrasions, bulges, or cuts.
There you go.
So yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. And those are.
Sorry for the wind.
Those are going to drive you crazy when you go to take your test too, because you have to say it.
You have to say
each part. You can't just generally say, "I'm looking at all this to make sure that none of that's happening." No, you have to say it after every single thing. Every single thing. So as you come down, you're going to check your tire. You're going to check it to make sure that it's evenly worn across and that it is no
4:30 seconds.
4:30 seconds. No less than 4:30 seconds in any given spot. Yeah. So then you can look at the outside of the wheel and make sure that it's all looks normal. That there's no like you didn't hit a curb and it's not bulging out. And then you check your rim.
Also bulges and what else?
Bulges, cuts, no cracks. And then you check your rim Make sure that the bead is fine. That you haven't dented it if you hit a curb. Not that people go around hitting curbs, but it happens.
Well, they do. Look at Swift.
Yeah. And you want to make sure that your bead is intact. And then you'll check your lug nuts, make sure that they're all tight, and you can look for signs of wear if there's any rub marks or metal shavings. And then you'll check your and maybe rest, depending on if you have steel rims or aluminum. And you'll check you want to check your wheel seal, make sure that it's not leaking. You can pop that off, and you can check the level so you can add some more if you need more. And when you do your pre-check Q2, you want to have your tire pressure gauge with you, because you're going to want to check the tire pressure in every tire as you go by it. So, and then we're going to look at the inside of the tire, make sure that there's no bulges and no cracks. And then check to make sure that the brake chamber that's not bent or leaking. You want to check make sure that you have your castle pin and locking nuts, that they're all there and tight. And you'll check the brake shoe and the brake pads. The brake pads should be about a 1/4 inch, I think, is the minimum. I'm not sure. I don't really remember. It could be a little less. I know
How do you not know this?
I don't know. I know it wouldn't be more than that. So at least a 1/4 inch.
Possibly an 1/8.
Possibly an 1/8. You want to make sure that you don't have any debris stuck in the inner wheel well. This one has disc brakes, so I guess you would check the disc to make sure that there's no gouges and other stuff wrong with it that you would need to check. Have the rotor checked.
The Rhoda.
The Rhoda.
All right, good times.
Yeah.
Let's move to the other side.
Yeah, the other side. So now we're over here on the left side, the driver's side. You're gonna just do a quick little overlook real quick, see if you see anything leaking or hanging real quick. If not, just proceed to your normal thing. Stay in a flow, in an order, from top to bottom, so you don't miss anything. You start with your washer fluid, make sure that it's full and the cap is on tight, and you move along over to the dirty shit. Yeah, I got dirt on me. To the power steering, make sure that it's full. It has several measurements on it. If it's hot, and then when it's cold, the levels. The oil, you got your dipstick. You would pull that out and clean it off. Stick it back in, pull it back out, look at it, make sure you have enough. If not, you would add oil over here where it says engine oil.
Are you serious?
Serious, like totally. And then you would look at your steering components. You got your steering column into your power steering box.
That's a steering box.
I said steering box.
It's a power steering box.
I don't know. We'd have to rewind it. I think I
Call
just
it Chingadera.
Chingadera. This who's it is attached to the what's it. But you want to make sure that it's all connected.
All students use that on your test.
Yeah.
The who's it to the what's it to the Chingadera to the
thingamajig. To the doohickey. But yeah, you just want to make sure that none of it's bent, cracked, broken. Make sure that it's not leaking, and it has all the bolts and nuts and everything are there. You get down here, you want to make sure that it has the castle nut and the cotter pin. That's very important. And you follow that along to this other castle nut and lock pin. Make sure that it's all there. Make sure none of it's bent.
And that is called what down there?
The pitman arm, I believe. It's either that one or that one.
You got to go back to school,
I
man.
do. I need to go back to school. I need to read my terminology. But yeah, it's either that one or that one. It's a pitman arm.
Well, beautiful trucking term is Chingadera.
Yeah.
Got that Chingadera right there, that thing.
You know it's supposed to be there, so make sure it looks like it's supposed to.
Proceed.
So then you would, take a glance at your frame, make sure that it's not bent or twisted. You can check your fan blade, make sure that it looks fine. that the shroud around it is not broken or anything. Make sure you don't have anything stuck on there. From this side you can see the belt on this side. Check it, make sure that there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. And you come down and check out this leaf spring, make sure that it's okay. If they're twisted a little bit, more than 1/8 of an inch twist between the two. Remember that part. And check your shock, make sure that it's
Alright, quiz time.
right.
Okay, you can have shifting of a spring up to 1/8 of an inch, right? And that would suggest what?
The alignment's off.
That, or they could be loose.
It could be loose, yeah.
How much breakage are you allowed to have on leaf springs?
Up to 1/2 inch. None.
Up to a percentage.
Oh, a percentage? I don't know.
I believe it's 35%.
Oh.
You got multiple leaves in some springs, like the ones on the back.
Right.
You can have up to it's either 25 or 35% crackage in springs, but pretty much you gotta admit none is acceptable.
Yeah, none is best. Yeah.
Anything you ever find broken on a truck.
Yeah, anything, yeah, get it fixed.
Yep.
Then you check your U-bolts again. It's very important. That's what holds, the truck to your steering. That's what holds it together. Without that, you're gonna lose something. And then you would check the brake chamber and everything again, just like you did on the other side. You check that. You check that for each wheel.
Check that Chingadera too.
Check that Chingadera too. Each wheel, you do the same thing for each wheel. You check the, the wear on it, the tread thickness. If there's any bulges on the inside or outside. Check your rims. Make sure that there's no wear marks. So first things first, when you walk up to do your pre-trip, you're gonna turn on all your lights before you get started. And you're gonna make sure that you check, make sure that all the lights are on and working. You're gonna check across the top, make sure that none of them are cracked or damaged, burnt out, etc. Check your window, your convex mirrors, your side mirrors. Make sure that they're all in place and nothing's hanging or dragging. You want to look underneath the truck, see if there's anything leaking, any wet spots. Look at it to see if it's sagging. That could indicate that there's a flat tire or something wrong with your suspension, or you could just be parked in a hole. Yeah, you never know. And you just make sure that the antennas are up, they're not falling off or missing, and then you would start the rest of your pre-trip. So, and as you go on your pre-trip, you look down the side and you make sure that all your fenders and everything are there and intact. You would look over your door, make sure that your mirrors are all there. You check them, your door handle, make sure that it works. Inside the door, you have your fire extinguisher, and you would check it to make sure that it's still in the green and that it should be at least a 10 BC. And you would come in your thing here. Check for your fuses and your triangles. Make sure that you have those. And then triangles and extra fuses you need to have on the truck. So basic tools. And then you would come around here and you would look at your hoses. You would check them all to make sure that the
glad hands.
And make sure that the rubber glad hand seals in there, that they're not grommets are not ripped up and cracked and all that, because then that would make for a bad seal, and then you would have no brakes, and that's very bad.
Well, you would definitely have an air leak.
Yeah, you would.
First indicator you don't have a good seal is an air leak.
An air leak, yes. You would check your fuel tanks, the lids, the straps, check your catwalk, your frame. You can go in there and you could do a little lean over, and you could check out your drive axle, make sure that everything is okay. You would check to make sure that you have your DOT reflective strips on the back, that they're still there.
How much does that have to cover up and down the trailer and on the tractor?
On the tractor, you only need those little sections at the top. They're like a foot up and a foot over. On the trailer, it has to cover 80% down.
That was 50.
50? Oh, maybe it is 50. I don't know. And you have to have a lot of them. I don't know exactly.
Well, if you look at, as a good little thing,
Oh,
look
yeah.
at the spacing here.
Yeah.
So that would probably take up 50%.
50%, yeah. And you'll want to look up and make sure that all your lights are working on the trailer. You'll want to take a little look underneath and make sure that the fifth wheel and the kingpin, you know, when it's hooked up, you can't really check that out. You'd have to check out the kingpin, and when you pull it, the kingpin pull. Ours has a button inside, but it also has a manual release. You want to check your airbags. You make sure that they're all no bulges, abrasions, cracks. You know, you don't want that leaking. And you check the valley between your tires to make sure that it's not broken, that there's not a gap, and there's nothing stuck in between there.
Also, that your tires aren't kissing, as it's called.
Yeah. Because you don't want, you could kick a rock up in there and would never know. You want to make sure that you check your rim and everything. You check your rim and your lug nuts and your air pressure tire on all your tires. Just like you did the first one, you do that for every single one.
What do you got in your hands today?
I got a tire thumper.
Well, this is technically not a tire thumper. It's just an old piece of pipe I found about 12 years ago, I think.
But we use it to thump tires. But you just take it and thump the tire. Make sure it doesn't have a...
Just to give you an idea of proper inflation, you should get a little ping out of it. Hear it?
Yep.
Give it a good whack. You hear the ping? Right?
Yeah.
There you go.
So
Go ahead.
You do that all along the way. You come down here, you want to make sure that you have both mud flaps, that they're no more than 2 inches from the ground or 8 inches above the ground. And you want to check your tail lights, make sure that they work. And then you also want to go in here and get a good look, grab a flashlight, make sure that the kingpin locks are locked around the kingpin. You also want to check underneath, make sure that all the bracing down the side and down the middle is all intact and not missing or bent. You would check your landing gear, make sure that both the sand feet are on there, that there's nothing, no debris stuck in them. Check your landing gear, the arm, make sure that it works, make sure that it has the bolts. I know that a lot of times these can rattle off and lose it, and then you're screwed. You can't put your landing gear up or down if you don't have that. Check the sides, make sure that all the rivets are all there, make sure all your reflective is there, check that your marker lights are working and not broken, check your wind wing, your little air wing skirt is all intact.
A good way to see is kick that baby.
Yeah, we had one the other day that it had no bracing, so it was just flapping in the wind. So then you would come back here and check your tires, your trailer tires, just like you would all the other tires. And you look under here, you check the brake chamber, you check the trailer pin, for sliding the trailer. You check the airbags, make sure that no wires are hanging. Listen to see if you can hear any air hissing out, see if you have a leak. Also, looking through the side to the other side, you can see the thickness of the brake pads to make sure that they're all good. You want to check the bar that goes across. I forget what it's called. I know it's square in the front and on this side, and it's round on the other side. That has to do with the alignment. I forget what it's called. One is the torsion bar. I believe that's the square one. I'm not sure. And the other one's the round one. That's one they use to adjust the.
That'll be when you see the whole set of duals though. It can be offset while you're going down the road, and a trailer will be off tracking going down the road. If you ever see a trailer half bent going down the road, that's what that is.
Yeah, the alignment's off on the trailer.
Yep.
Just like the front, you want to check your mud flaps. Make sure that it's got all the hardware. Make sure that they're, the proper length from the ground. And you would check the bracing underneath again. You actually want to check that about every 4 feet as you're walking down the trailer. Make sure that it's all there. And then you come down to the end and check your ABS light. It pops on if the trailer ABS is not working, which usually happens from a bad connection. Check your DOT bar, make sure that it's not bent and it has all the DOT reflective on it. Your license plate, that it's there and that the light is working on it. That's also a very important thing. Check your tail lights. There's 3 lights at the top of the trailer door.
And we're not showing the top of the trailer door. Why?
Because it has the company name on it. And I would show you how to open the doors and everything. You can't do that right now. Stuff inside. So, but you would check to make sure that all the hinges work right and that the doors open properly and everything closes. Come around to the other side and check your marker lights. There, in the middle. Check your tires over here. As you're walking down, you also want to take a good look at the whole side of your trailer. Make sure that there's no damage, that either that maybe you hit something and didn't realize it, or whoever had it before you might have hit it. You want to do a thorough check before you send in that depart call on your new trailer pickup. And then on this side, you would look through to the other side and check the brake pads for the other side. Just give a good look, make sure that nothing else is hanging or linking on this side. And you walk down and check. You've already checked your supports, so you don't really have to do that on this side. Yeah, check your skirt. Check marker lights. Make sure you have all your DOT stickers, reflective stickers. Check this side, your landing gear on this side. Make sure that it's all intact. And you would check that mud flap, make sure that it has all its hardware and everything. And see, it's like, I'm like just doing a brief overview, not even anything detailed, and it's already old. And you would check your tires again. And the back teeth sound a little funny, but they've been cupping. So nothing yet that we need to worry about.
As far as all your wheels, tires, lug nuts and everything, and same applies to all of them. You check all your lugs, check all your tires, check the tread depth, the gap in between the tires, make sure nothing's bulging or kissing, as you could say. Airbags, suspension, everything else too. Make sure that your hubby seals and stuff, there's no oil slinging around in there and stuff. That'd be the first indicator that some of these bolts right here might be loose and you're losing fluid. So, right.
Make sure you check your splash guards, or make sure that they're there and tight, not broken, not missing anything. Check your frame again, make sure that there's no bends or twists in it. Your other fuel tank. And then in older trucks, or not even older trucks, but just other trucks that have the exhaust that goes up the top, you would want to make stacks. You want to make sure that there's no soot or anything coming out in any of the, the seams where it's attached. Of
course, this truck has what's called a weed burner right there. It's exhaust under the truck.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's a
to finish up on this side though, you're checking your fairings, tank, the tank straps and everything.
Yeah, you want to make sure that it has a rubber under there.
Yeah, and all in general, just checking the side of the tractor, the glass, the little cubby side doors there, everything else.
The doors are working, the handles.
I guess that kind of concludes this part, huh?
Yeah, that's a basic overview. You know, I'm sure I missed a few things or called something the wrong thing.
Oh, you missed several.
I know, but yeah.
All right.
All right. So now I'm going to do my totally messed up version of the in-cab test with the air brake test. So first thing you do when you get in, and grab your seatbelt, check it. Make sure that there's no frays or rips or tears in it, and that it secures fast and holds the driver suitably. And then you're going to check your door and everything, make sure that it's working. You're going to work in a motion from one end to the other so you don't forget anything. You check your mirrors, you would adjust them to the driver's vision. You would check, you're going to check across the windshield, make sure that there's no cracks or damage. Like a Freightliner, you have the rubber down the middle. You would check, make sure that the rubber is all secure and you know it's not dry rotted or leaking. Make sure that your dash is free of all debris. No hats or anything on the dash. You check across the dash, make sure all your then you would come back down and come across to make sure that all your buttons are all working. You check your glasses, all your gauges, and make sure that nothing is cracked or damaged or broken. You would ask, you know, if you're taking a test, you would ask the test giver to go outside to check all your lights. You do all your right and left blinkers and your high beams and all that, and they would go in the back and they tell you, and you check all those and hit the brake and then, you know, make sure all that's working. Then you turn the truck to the on position, wait for all the lights to clear. You want to make sure that your ABS light comes on and goes out. Then you would start the truck, and then you start over here again. You make sure your windows work. You would check your blinkers again to make sure that the indicators inside work properly. Check your windshield wipers, make sure that they work and that the fluid works. Check all your dash gauges, make sure that they're all working properly, that your bolts are run around 12 to 14. Your oil pressure should be between 20 and 40. Your water temperature, make sure that your RPM gauge is working. Your fuel gauge, make sure that you have fuel and you have DEF, your diesel exhaust fluid. You have your primary and secondary air gauge, make sure that they're working. And any other gauges that you may have or may not have. Some trucks have more than others. You would check and make sure that your defroster is working. That's very important. You check that it's working. It's working, so then you can shut that off and turn the AC back on because it's hot in here. You would check your horn, your city horn, and your
beep honk.
Your air horn. I'm not going to do it because that's not
we're obviously in a hotel parking lot.
Yeah, we're in a hotel parking lot, so that's not very cool. Yeah, so pause that.
What?
I said pause it. Now we're gonna shut the truck off and put it back into the on position so that all your gauges work properly. Then you would, to do the brake test, to check the service brake, you're gonna hold it down for 1 minute, and you're gonna count and go da 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 da. All right, it's been a minute. You're gonna make sure that it didn't lose more than 4 psi. After that, then you're going to pump it down until about 40 psi.
That's at what?
That was at 60 psi.
Okay.
The warning light and sensor signal came on, and you're going to continue to pump it down. When it gets down to about 40 psi, the tractor brake and the trailer brake should pop out. They both popped out, so it passed that part of the test.
Okay.
So then you would turn the truck back on and let the air build back up. To full operating pressure.
Which will sit around where?
Well, it should be about 125, but safe operating pressure is about 90 to 100. You could start to get going.
That's a minimum.
A minimum, yeah. So let that go.
What gauge is it? There it is.
That one. The orange is the primary. The green is the secondary.
Usually as soon as the primary gets up to about 100, the secondary will kick in and start coming up too.
So we'll see if that happens. There it goes. A little bit more of that annoying dinging. Back up. It's almost there. Now that those are up, you're gonna put your foot on the service brake.
Now, the other thing too though, you want to make sure with the cutout, how high does it go, because you can't have too much pressure in the system too.
Right.
So we're at about 100 pounds right now. If you go ahead and just keep revving it up. When you hear the air cutout outside the truck, whenever you hear a truck go, you don't spit,
Right.
that's your cutout. You should see it go to 120, maybe 130 pounds, usually on most trucks, even up to 140. If you get up to 150, that's getting a bit high. This truck cuts out at like 125.
There it goes.
There it went. Told you.
Yeah. So then, to check your brakes on the trailer and the tractor, you're going to push in you're going to release the trailer brake. So you're going to be testing the tractor brake. Whatever one is out is the one that you're going to be testing. So then you would put it in drive, give it a little gas, and it works. It held it.
You see the truck jiggle a little bit. It was pulling on those brakes.
Yep. So then you would pull out the trailer brake, push in the tractor brake. Now you're going to test the trailer brakes. So those, give it a little tug. And yep, you didn't roll, so it means trailer brakes were good. Then you would release both brakes, and you would drive forward at about 5 miles an hour, and you would push on the brake for an abrupt stop, and you would check to see if the wheel turns or not, and then you would be able to tell if it's out of alignment, the brakes are out of alignment, and if you need to get your brakes adjusted or not. And that's basically the...
You want to do it?
Oh, drive forward a little bit.
Look pretty good.
Pretty good. We'll put it back where it belongs now.
Now there's one thing you could do.
What's that?
You can check your trolley brake.
Oh yeah, check the trolley brake.
Drive forward on that a little bit, just to see that the trolley brake componentry is all working properly too. It's engaging the trailer brakes, which it is.
It is.
There you go.
That's pretty much it.
It's a basic end cap.
Yeah, it's a basic end cap. Yeah. If,
Aside from debris on the floor, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, just a basic
General
stuff.
thing, keeping your
General
truck
stuff.
in safe operating condition and keeping it clean.
Yeah, but you should do a brake test regularly to make sure that your brakes are working properly, because you would not want to find out that they're not working on a hill.
Well, that's why when you come to the top of a grade before you go down a major downhill,
Yeah.
you see there's a brake check area. They want you to pull over and do a brake test.
And they want you to do what we just did.
Yep.
So
It takes you all of, when you know how to do it,
it takes you 2
it
minutes.
takes you a minute or two. That's
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, because you hold it for 1 minute, and then the rest of the stuff takes about a minute. So you're not losing any time. You know, it's better, I'd rather lose 2 to 3 minutes than my life. So, or somebody else's life, because the brakes didn't work.
Yeah.
So.
Good times.
So make sure you like, share, subscribe. Bye, internet.
Yeah.
So I finally got my shower and I brushed my teeth. See? They're really clean. Yeah, I feel really good now that I took a shower. Yeah.